On the night of February 13th, 2000, in the small town of Shelby, North Carolina, a mystery began that would become one of the most haunting unsolved disappearances in American history. By every account, Asha Degree was a happy, grounded little girl. She lived with her parents, Harold and Aquila Degree, and her older brother, O'Brien. People who knew her described her as shy but cheerful, a child who loved basketball, worked hard in school, and went to church faithfully with her family every week. There were no signs of trouble at home, no conflicts anyone was aware of, nothing that would point to a child with any reason to run. The day before she disappeared was completely ordinary. It was a Sunday. Asha spent time with her family and went to watch a basketball game. She fouled out during the game, and like any competitive kid, she was disappointed. But it was a small, normal frustration, the kind that's forgotten by morning. Later that evening, a powerful storm rolled in over Shelby. Heavy rain, strong winds, power outages across the area. Asha was reportedly frightened by the storm, which is worth remembering because within hours she would be walking directly into it. The Degree family went to bed that night, expecting nothing unusual. Around 2:30 in the morning, Harold Degree checked on both of his children before heading to sleep himself. Asha was in her bed. She was asleep. Everything looked exactly as it should. But sometime after that, in the quiet, dark hours before dawn, something changed. Asha woke up. She got dressed. She packed a backpack with a few belongings, and then, without waking anyone, without leaving a note, without making a single sound that anyone heard, she walked out of her house and into the storming night. No one knows why. When her mother woke up hours later to get the children ready for school, Asha was gone. The family searched the house first, then outside, and then the panic that every parent fears completely took over. Police were called. A search operation began almost immediately, pulling in officers, firefighters, volunteers, and neighbors, anyone who could help look for a missing 9-year-old girl. Then came the first shocking development. Multiple drivers came forward to report something strange they had witnessed in the early morning hours. Several of them had seen a young girl walking alone along Highway 18. One truck driver noticed a small figure moving along the roadside at around 4 in the morning. As he slowed down and looked closer, he realized it was a child carrying a backpack. He found it strange, but he kept driving. Another driver was so unsettled by the sight that he turned his vehicle around to check on her. But as his headlights swept toward her, the girl suddenly bolted off the road and disappeared into a wooded area alongside the highway. He searched briefly but found nothing. He kept going too. Investigators would later confirm that the girl both drivers witnessed was almost certainly Asha Degree. She had walked roughly 2 miles from her home in the middle of the night, in the rain, during a storm that had frightened her. She was moving with purpose. She appeared to know where she was going, and when an adult tried to approach her, she ran and hid rather than asking for help. That detail is one of the most disturbing pieces of the entire case. A lost or scared child looking for help does not run from someone stopping to check on them. A child who runs and hides is either afraid of being caught or has been told by someone not to trust strangers approaching her. It suggests she was going somewhere deliberately, possibly to meet someone she already knew. But to whom and why? Those questions still have no answers. As investigators continued to search the area near Highway 18, they made another discovery that confirmed Asha had been there. Near the highway sat a small storage shed. Inside and around the shed, search teams found candy wrappers, a pencil, and a hair bow. Asha's family immediately recognized the items. They belonged to her. The shed appeared to be a stopping point. Maybe she took shelter from the rain for a little while. Maybe she waited there for someone. Maybe she rested before continuing on. There is no way to know for certain. What is known is that after the shed, the trail went completely cold. Despite a massive search involving hundreds of volunteers, law enforcement agencies, helicopters, and tracking dogs, no further trace of Asha could be found. The days stretched into weeks. The weeks became months. The girl who had been seen walking along a dark highway had simply ceased to exist. For over a year, the case produced no major breakthroughs. Her family refused to go quiet. Harold and Aquila Degree spoke publicly every chance they got, begging anyone with information to come forward. They kept Asha's name alive even when the news cycle moved on. Then, in August 2001, more than a year and a half after her disappearance, construction workers in Burke County made a discovery that sent the investigation in a chilling new direction. They found a backpack buried underground, approximately 30 miles from where Asha had last been seen. It was hers, but it was the condition of the backpack that truly alarmed investigators. It had been wrapped inside plastic garbage bags before being buried. It had been concealed deliberately, methodically, and with clear intent to prevent it from ever being found. Backpacks do not bury themselves. Whoever buried it had taken Asha's belongings, wrapped them to protect them from the elements, transported them 30 miles from the last known sighting, and hidden them underground. That takes planning. That takes effort. That is the behavior of someone covering their tracks. Someone who had something to hide. The discovery of the buried backpack effectively confirmed what many investigators had feared. Another person was involved in whatever happened to Asha that night. She had not simply wandered off into the woods and gotten lost. Someone had crossed her path. Someone had taken her somewhere. And someone had worked to make sure the evidence was never found. Yet even with this critical discovery, the case refused to break open. No arrests were made. No suspects were publicly named. The years continued to pass. Investigators revisited the evidence repeatedly over the following decades. As forensic technology advanced, evidence that couldn't be fully processed in 2000 became more workable. Old witnesses were re-interviewed. Cold leads were re-examined. New tips were followed up on. The FBI became involved. The case remained technically open and actively worked, even as the years became a decade, and the decade became two. Throughout all of it, the central mystery never changed. Why did Asha leave? Dozens of theories have circulated over the years. Some investigators believe she had been communicating with someone and planned to meet that person. Given that she packed a backpack and walked with apparent direction, this theory has always had weight. Others have raised the possibility of grooming, that someone had spent time earning her trust and had convinced her, over weeks or months, to leave her home at a specific time. Some have speculated that she had learned or seen something disturbing and was frightened into running. Others believe she was simply trying to go somewhere she knew, and something went terribly wrong along the way. None of these theories has ever been proven, and none of them fully explains every piece of the puzzle. The question of what Asha was thinking that night is one that may never be fully answered. She was 9 years old. She was shy and gentle. She had no history of running away. She had by all accounts a loving family and a safe home. And yet on a stormy February night, she made a decision that no one who knew her has ever been able to explain. Then, in 2024, the investigation surfaced publicly in a significant new way. Authorities executed search warrants connected to individuals they believed could have critical information about the case. Documents released as part of that investigation shed new light on the direction detectives had been quietly moving in for years. The warrants indicated that investigators had developed evidence linking specific people and specific properties to Asha's disappearance. And then came the detail that broke the hearts of everyone still holding on to hope. Investigators stated plainly in those documents that they believed Asha was the victim of a homicide and that her body had been intentionally concealed somewhere. For 24 years, there had always been a sliver of possibility, the kind of possibility that families hold on to because the alternative is unbearable. But the language in those warrants made clear that the people who had spent decades working this case had reached a conclusion. Asha did not simply disappear. She was killed, and someone made sure her body would not be found. Even after those developments, no one has been arrested. No one has been charged. No one has stood in front of a court and answered for what happened to that little girl. The case remains active. Investigators say they are still working it. Asha's family continues to wait, and the rest of the world continues to wonder. What makes the story of Asha Degree so relentlessly haunting is not just the horror of what likely happened to her. It is how impossible it remains to understand. There was no screaming, no forced entry, no signs of struggle inside the family home. A child simply woke up in the night, packed her bag, and walked out a door she opened herself. Whatever drew her out into that storm came from somewhere inside her, or from someone who had gotten inside her head long before that night. The highway she walked along that February morning still exists. The shed where her belongings were found is still there. Somewhere in Burke County, roughly 30 miles away, is the ground where her backpack was buried. And somewhere beyond all of that is the truth, the full, complete story of what happened after she disappeared into the darkness. Someone living today knows that truth. Someone was there that night. Someone made choices that took a 9-year-old girl away from her family and buried the evidence of it underground. That person has carried that knowledge for over 25 years, and they have never come forward. One of the longest-running and most devastating mysteries in American criminal history remains exactly that, a mystery. Asha Degree would be in her mid-30s now. She would have grown up, had a life, built something of her own. Instead, she is frozen in time as a 9-year-old with a backpack, walking away down a rainy highway in the middle of the night, turning to look back once at a pair of headlights, and then running into the dark woods and disappearing forever. Somewhere between that highway and wherever she ended up, the truth is still waiting to be found. Outro: more than 25 years have passed, and Asha Degree's family is still waiting for the one thing they have never received: answers. Her case is a reminder that evil does not always announce itself, that sometimes the most devastating things begin in perfect silence, in the middle of the night, with a child making a choice nobody saw coming. If you have any information about Asha Degree's disappearance, the FBI's tip line remains open. Someone out there knows what happened. The only question is whether they will ever choose to speak.